On October 24, 1944, the largest battleship ever built, the Imperial Japanese Navy battleship Musashi, steamed into the Sibuyan Sea. She was a 72,000-ton Leviathan, an unsinkable fortress of steel. Her armor was so heavy that Japanese commanders believed she could absorb any punishment the Americans could deliver. They were wrong. Over 5 brutal hours, she endured an onslaught of 19 torpedoes and 17 bombs. For 71 years, her wreck and the secrets of her demise were lost. When it was found, the discovery revealed a shocking truth. The Musashi was not simply sunk. She was anatomically dismantled by a catastrophic design flaw that no one anticipated. What was the fatal vulnerability hidden deep within her invincible armor scheme that turned American bombs into giant can openers? What does the massive detached bow section of the wreck tell us about the horrifying final plunge that tore this monster apart? The answer lies in what Japanese naval architects never expected. Their pride and joy had a critical weakness beneath the waterline. While Musashi's main armor belt was an impressive 16 inches thick, it did not extend far enough below the waterline. That created a vulnerable zone where American torpedoes could strike with devastating effect. When Paul Allen's expedition found Musashi in 2015, the wreck revealed the catastrophic truth. The ship had not simply sunk. She had been torn apart during her death plunge. The massive bow section, weighing thousands of tons, had completely separated from the hull and lay over 600 meters away on the ocean floor. This was not just a shipwreck. It was an engineering autopsy that exposed the fatal flaw in Japan's mightiest warship. To understand how such a monster could be brought down, we need to understand what made Musashi so formidable in the first place. November 1934. Japan's Naval High Command met in Tokyo to approve the most ambitious warship ever conceived. The Yamato-class battleships would embody Japan's imperial ambitions, ships so powerful they could single-handedly defeat multiple American battleships. Musashi's keel was laid down in March 1938 at the Mitsubishi Heavy Industries shipyard in Nagasaki. Construction occurred under unprecedented secrecy. Giant bamboo screens concealed the building site. Workers were carefully vetted and forbidden to discuss their work. Locals caught trying to glimpse the massive ship faced arrest. This was not just shipbuilding, it was a national security obsession. The statistics were staggering. At 862 feet long and displacing 72,000 tons fully loaded, Musashi was 40% larger than America's Iowa-class battleships. Her 9 18.1-inch main guns were the largest naval artillery ever mounted, capable of hurling 3,200-pound shells over 25 miles. Each gun barrel weighed more than an entire Sherman tank. Armor was equally impressive. The main belt was 16 inches thick, impenetrable to any naval gun in existence. Her turrets were protected by 25 inches of hardened steel. The armored deck was nearly 8 inches thick. All told, armor accounted for over a third of Musashi's immense weight. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, architect of the Pearl Harbor attack, described her as the ultimate expression of naval power. When Emperor Hirohito personally inspected the completed vessel in 1942, naval officials proudly declared her unsinkable by any conventional means. But beneath this confidence lay a critical miscalculation. Japanese naval architects had designed Musashi around a decisive surface battle, with massive ships exchanging shell fire at long range. Their design philosophy prioritized thick side armor to withstand battleship shells, but they critically underestimated the threat of aerial torpedoes striking below this armor belt. The underwater protection system, called the Torpedo Defense System, the letters TDS, consisted of multiple liquid-filled compartments designed to absorb torpedo explosions before they reached vital areas. But recent wreck analysis revealed a devastating truth. This system extended only 5 meters below the waterline. American intelligence had identified this vulnerability by 1943. Mark 13 aerial torpedoes were specifically modified to run deeper when attacking the large Japanese warships. This ensured detonations occurred beneath the main armor belt, where protection was thinnest. Naval engineer Kaigun Shosa Kikuo Fujimoto had actually warned about this vulnerability during construction, recommending extending the torpedo defense system deeper. His concerns were dismissed as excessive because the additional weight would reduce speed, and Japanese naval doctrine considered aircraft minimal threats to heavily armored battleships. This fatal arrogance would doom Musashi and the 1,023 sailors who would die with her. Despite her immense power, Musashi spent most of her career hidden away. Japan's desperate fuel situation meant she rarely sailed. Naval command preserved her as the ultimate weapon for the decisive battle that would turn the war's tide. After commissioning in August 1942, she spent nearly a year as a floating command center in Truk Lagoon, hidden from American reconnaissance. Her existence remained so secret that American intelligence was not certain she had been completed until mid-1943. October 1944 changed everything. As American forces threatened the Philippines, Japan launched Operation Shogo, a desperate plan to destroy the American invasion fleet. Admiral Takeo Kurita's center force would ambush American transports in Leyte Gulf, with Musashi as his most powerful weapon. Dawn, October 24th, 1944. Musashi steamed through the Sibuyan Sea as flagship of Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita's powerful center force. Despite attempts at secrecy, American intelligence had tracked the Japanese fleet. At 8:10 in the morning, reconnaissance aircraft from USS Intrepid spotted the massive formation. What followed was history's largest concentrated aerial attack against a single warship. 5 separate waves, totaling 259 American aircraft, descended on Musashi over the next 8 hours. She became the focus of an unprecedented storm of American air power. The first American aircraft appeared over Musashi at 10:27 in the morning. Although her anti-aircraft batteries erupted with a wall of fire, her size and slow speed made her an unmissable target. The initial strike scored hits with 2 bombs and a torpedo. The torpedo struck exactly where American intelligence had predicted, below the main armor belt, where underwater protection was weakest. It tore a 15-foot hole in Musashi's port side, flooding multiple compartments. Already, the fatal flaw was exposed. Captain Toshihira Inoguchi ordered counter-flooding to correct a developing list, but this reduced the ship's freeboard, the height between waterline and deck, making her more vulnerable to subsequent attacks. At 12:30 in the afternoon, a second wave arrived. 3 torpedoes struck the port side, again exploiting the vulnerability beneath the armor belt. Progressive flooding began spreading beyond damaged compartments. By the third attack at 1:30 in the afternoon, Musashi was already in trouble. Her massive size, initially an asset, became a liability. Damage control teams struggled to coordinate across her enormous length. Communication systems began failing. Electrical systems shorted out as seawater reached power distribution panels. The fourth attack at 2:45 in the afternoon proved decisive. 4 torpedoes struck in rapid succession, all on the port side. The underwater protection system, designed to handle isolated hits, was completely overwhelmed by multiple detonations in the same area. The fatal flaw was now fully exposed. Musashi had been designed to withstand battleship shells, not concentrated torpedo attacks below her armor belt. Each hit allowed more water in, and that increased her list, and that in turn exposed more of her vulnerable underwater hull to subsequent attacks. By 3:30 in the afternoon, Musashi was listing 15 degrees to port. Her speed had dropped to 6 knots. Captain Inoguchi ordered all available pumps activated, but they could not keep pace with the flooding. Water had penetrated nearly a third of her internal compartments. The fifth and final attack at 4:15 in the afternoon sealed her fate. 4 more torpedoes struck, bringing the total to 19. The ship was now listing 20 degrees and down significantly at the bow. Internal bulkheads, never designed for such stress, began buckling. Compartments meant to remain watertight were failing catastrophically. As Musashi's list increased, a devastating chain reaction began. Her massive weight, once distributed evenly across her keel, shifted dramatically to port. This placed enormous stress on her hull structure. Steel frames began to twist. Rivets popped. Longitudinal support beams buckled. By 7:15 in the evening, the list had increased to 30 degrees. Admiral Kurita, realizing Musashi was doomed, ordered the rest of the fleet to continue without her. Destroyer Kiyoshimo came alongside to remove Admiral Inoguchi and senior staff, but the captain refused to leave his ship. At 7:30 in the evening, Captain Inoguchi gave the order to abandon ship. By now, the list was approaching 40 degrees. Sailors reported hearing ominous grinding noises as the hull structure began to fail. The weight of her massive gun turrets, each weighing over 2,500 tons, acted as leverage points, twisting the hull beyond its structural limits. At 7:35 in the evening, Musashi capsized and began her final plunge. What happened next shocked even the Japanese witnesses. As the ship sank, the immense forces acting on her hull caused a catastrophic structural failure. The enormous bow section, weakened by multiple bomb hits and subjected to unbearable torsional forces, tore away completely from the main hull. This was not just a ship sinking, it was a 72,000-ton Leviathan tearing itself apart. Survivors described a massive underwater explosion as compressed air within the hull burst outward. The separated bow section plunged separately, eventually landing over 600 meters from the main wreckage. Of Musashi's 2,399 man crew, 1,376 were rescued. The remaining 1,023 perished in history's greatest single-ship disaster involving a battleship. For 71 years, Musashi's final resting place remained a mystery. Then in March 2015, an expedition led by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen located the wreck in the Sibuyan Sea at a depth of 3,280 feet. High-definition imagery revealed the shocking truth. The ship lay in multiple pieces across 1 square kilometer of seabed. Most significantly, the massive bow section had indeed separated completely, confirming survivors' accounts of the catastrophic breakup. The wreck provided the final proof of Musashi's fatal flaw. Torpedo damage was clearly concentrated below the main armor belt, exactly where American intelligence had identified the vulnerability. The pattern of progressive flooding could be traced through successive compartments, showing how water spread throughout the ship's lower decks. Engineering analysis of the wreck confirmed what American naval planners had suspected. The world's most powerful battleship had been doomed by a design flaw that prioritized protection against shell fire over torpedo defense. The destruction of Musashi marked the death knell for the battleship era. No surface ship, no matter how heavily armored, could withstand concentrated aerial attack. Aircraft carriers would henceforth dominate naval warfare. Musashi's final resting place stands as both a war grave and a testament to the dangers of engineering overconfidence. The shattered remains of the world's largest battleship remind us that no weapon system is invulnerable, and that adaptation to evolving threats is the true measure of military effectiveness. If this deep dive into naval history fascinated you, dive deeper with Ocean Attacks. Subscribe now for more forensic investigations of history's greatest maritime mysteries and technological failures. From sunken superweapons to lost treasures, we are exploring what lies beneath. Hit that subscribe button and join our fleet of underwater detectives before we dive into our next maritime mystery.